My name is Ron Dorn. I'm the instructor of your GPH 111 class, and the purpose of this presentation is to overview all things about the class that most students would ask. Don't want to waste your time, but the presentation's a bit on the long side, so please be patient. I think it will save you time in the long run. So this is the presentation about GPH 111, physical geography. This class covers the Earth as a whole. The focus is on the sustainability of Earth's natural systems, which are the physical geography processes. The topics in this presentation will start with what you need to earn lab science credit. Science credit is obtained when this class, GPH 111, a 3-credit lecture class, is taken along with GPH 112, which is a 1-credit lab class. You can take them together, or you can take GPH 111 first and then GPH 112 later. Many students do that just because they don't want to be burdened with too much science. Many students take them together because they work well together. The material you will be taught in 112 will remind you of everything you learned in 111, so you can have them separate, but because it reminds you about GPH 111, it's also reinforcing, so you can't lose either way. This class earns science credit. Currently, when this is recorded in the fall of 2022, the lab science requirement is called SQ, or quantitative science. But this class also will meet the new general education science credit. SQ is met by 111 and 112. But starting in the fall of 2024, all new incoming students will have a scientific thinking requirement of 8 credits, and this class in GPH 112 will meet that as well. The structure of this class is based upon the premise that science education has failed in the United States. The COVID pandemic demonstrated that the general public has no clear understanding of how science works or even what it is. And that resulted in a lack of trust, in countless tragedies and loss of life, and in disabilities that continues today. Some research suggests that distrust in science starts in middle school and definitely in high school, turning a fascination that we all had in science in elementary school to dislike. So a key goal is I want you to love science again and to understand it. I try and do this by removing your fear of failure. I want your grade to be based upon you demonstrating understanding and rewarding you. So wrong answers do not hurt your grade in this class. I want you to have the attitude of a 6-year-old with wonder and the joy of science, where you get positive reinforcement, not negative crushing of the soul. I want you to treat this class like a video game where you accumulate points to reach higher and higher grade levels. So I want to remind you that there are 2 different Canvas sites. The Canvas site that you have for my 111 class in this presentation, and there's a separate Canvas site for the GPH 112, and there's another presentation for that class, either whether you're taking it online or in person. But I want you to remember that the GPH 112 lab science class is required by the Arizona Board of Regents, and that we have labs in both 111 and 112. The labs are not crossing points. In other words, some students naively think that the lab points, the lab practicals they earn in my class, will transfer to 112. And every session, some student makes up this rule in their head and they forget to do some of the labs, typically 112 or 111. They're completely separate classes. The next topic in this presentation is what you need to buy. The materials for this class are all embedded inside Canvas. There are no required purchases in this class. There's no textbook for you to buy. All the materials that you have for readings are links, hyperlinks or PDF files. I went to a lot of work to compile readings that were the equivalent of a $250 science textbook. And I did this because there's a $60 cost for the GPH 112 lab class. It's the cost for you purchasing video games. So what we've done, Dr. Ryan Heintzman and I, in building the 112 class, was to remove a $90 lab manual, embed that lab manual inside Canvas, remove the $250 lab textbook for this class, and put all the readings together in this class. And I think that the $60 fee for video games is a lot more reasonable than the $340 alternative for a more traditional approach to a lab manual and a lab science textbook. The next topic is where you find the lectures and readings inside Canvas. So if you look on the left side of Canvas, there's a Welcome and Start Here module. If you click on the link that says, click here for all lectures, readings, and list of related quizzes and lab practicals, that will bring you to a very long scroll where it's broken up into units. Unit 1, Introduction, Unit 2, Building Topography, Unit 3, Earth's Landforms, Unit 4, Climate Basics, Unit 5, Global Climate and Weather, and Unit 6, Culminating Assessment. Each one of these units has a pacing guide, the suggested time that you do it, links to 2 different online lectures. One of them is an Adobe presenter format where you control the slide feed in HTML5 lecture. And the other one is a streaming link that's called closed caption. Then there's a column on readings. There's a column on related quizzes and then related lab practicals, with the caveat that the lab practicals can be removed and added over time. My name is Ron Dorn. I'm your instructor, and I've been here since 1988. My passion is mountain biking, taking students outside, showing them physical geography, and you'll often find me, if I'm not hanging around on email or in my office, I'm out mountain biking, checking out the landforms in physical geography. There's a 0-point quiz, getting to know you. It's kind of a survey where it's under the quiz link. I do this purely as an optional way for me to learn more about you because I really like students. I want to help them. So I ask you a set of questions and I cough up my own answers. You don't have to do it. If you like to remain anonymous, just take the class, don't take the quiz. It's solely if you want me to read about you and try to understand you. The next topic are due dates. There's a lot of confusion sometimes with students on due dates. The confusion rests in that there are no due dates for any particular assignment. I do this because it gives you a lot of flexibility. You have crazy work schedules. You have family schedules. Many of you are in the military and you can be pulled out of action for a while, not being able to access the class. So by not having you follow a set of assignments that meets my schedule, it allows you to do the assignments that meets your schedule. But there is a drop dead due date, and you'll find it at the top of the syllabus link in Canvas. And it lists a specific date and time that's basically at the end of the session. No more assignments will count for your grade after that date and time. So this creates a problem for some people who need to set schedules. And if you need to set the schedules, follow the pacing guide that I showed you on the lecture and readings page. But let's say you get behind. Let's say it's the 2 weeks have gone by and there are 5 weeks left in the session and you've only earned 12 points and you need 100 points to reach the A+ goal of 112. The pacing guide then changes if you get behind. Simply take the points you want for the grade you want and divide it by the weeks left. So in this case, 100 points divided by 5 is 20 points a week. The number one reason why students fail this class is that they get behind, they start late, or they forget completely about the class and they fail. And that breaks my heart. So just stay on top of things and you'll earn the grade you want. So what is the grade you want? How is your grade determined? I use a strange system that doesn't work so well in Canvas, but I think it will work fantastic for you. It's called point accrual or point accumulation. Look at the scale on the right. That's what you see in the syllabus. That is the way your grade is determined. Please notice that there's no percentage, simply points. In Canvas, you will see the total number of points. You compare the total you have to the scale, and that's your grade. So what this means is, let's say you get off to a bad start. The way I write questions doesn't fit for you. The way I do the lab practicals, you're not getting any momentum in the class. You are not penalized. I know that it takes time to build momentum in a class, and I don't want you getting off to a different start or not earning the points you want right away to impact your grade. I want your fear of failure in science to be completely removed. I want you to have control over your grade. So how do you earn these points? Well, there are quizzes instead of big tests. There are a lot of little quizzes that give you basic knowledge about physical geography. And then there are lab practicals with different amounts of points based upon difficulty. And then there's a culminating assessment where you can earn 20 more points. Really, there's over 150 points, well over 150 points available for you to earn. And so not earning a point is meaningless for your grade. Not doing an assignment that disinterests you is meaningless for your grade. The only thing that counts is accumulated points. So you're going to have a complicated grade book. You're going to have all this stuff in Canvas, the score, the out of points. I have to tweak Canvas to make it work. To do this, you only pay attention to the points. And when you're all done with 112 points, I will do a review of the grades and make sure, and then I'll post an A+ grade for you. So there's a column in your Canvas gradebook that's called Grade for GPH 111, uploaded when the session ends. If you have an A+, you'll see the A+ there. And hopefully Canvas will also email you. The gradebook, the only thing I want you to worry about is the points. And so what I want you to do is I want you to start with the lectures and take the quizzes first, straight up, and then try the lab practicals. And you'll see your points accumulate over time. Ignore the percent, only pay attention to the total. So figuring your grade is super easy. Just ignore everything except the total number of points. I know this is an unusual system, and the reason why I do this is I want you to enjoy the class. I don't want you to freak about your grade, because in reality, it's completely under your control. What's the best order of assignments? How do you get into a flow in the class? Well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take a syllabus quiz. I used to think a syllabus quiz was stupid, and then I realized that no students read the syllabus. And that's crazy. The syllabus is a contract. You agree to the rules in class that I set out in the syllabus when you take the class. So why wouldn't you read a contract? Well, I try and cover the major points in the syllabus quiz. For example, a common question I get was when people try and access the HTML5 Adobe Presenter lectures, they're asked for a logon and a password. And I tell it to you that it's GPH111 and the password is Gaia. And there's also other material that I post to a server that has this broad class logon and password. And I get pinged with emails. Oh, I tried to enter my ASU log on and my ASU password and it didn't work. How do I access the lectures? Well, I know you didn't watch this, and I know you didn't read the syllabus. Um, so there's really the key points in the syllabus are covered in this quiz, sometimes in a tongue-in-cheek fashion, sometimes more serious, to just make the major points easy to review. After you take the syllabus, I recommend that you go through all of the lectures and all the quizzes. That makes you understand the full breadth of physical geography before you deal with the lab practicals. Now, some students like to do the lectures, the quizzes, and the lab practicals on the same type of topic, and that works great. But if somebody's confused, behind, not really getting into the flow of things, what works almost all the time is to just do the quizzes first, watch the lectures, take the quizzes, do the readings, and then after that, try the lab practicals because you'll find out how many points you've earned after all of the lectures and quizzes, and you'll then know how many points you need to earn with the rest of the assignments. The quizzes are not timed, but you have to finish it all at once. So I would need you to watch the lecture, take notes, done the readings or skim the readings because the readings cover the same content, and some people learn better by reading and some people learn better by lectures. They're both the same material. So for the most common way of student learning is audiovisual supplemented by a review of the readings will then allow you to do one on the quizzes. So let's say you finish the quizzes and you've got 35 or 40 points. Let's say 40 points, and you need now you need 72 points to earn an A plus. So you move on to the lab practicals, and these are different. These burrow into specific topics in physical geography. I may have covered it in 2 minutes in a lecture, and these really dig at the knowledge in detail. There's an information page if you need extra material to review, and then you take the quiz. They are not timed, and you can return to it. In other words, if you're confused, you can pause it and you can resume the quiz later. The intent is if you get confused, you can take a screenshot of what confuses you and email me. And there are a lot of lab practicals. The reason why is I want you to, after you finish the quizzes, be able to pick and choose the sort of information that you're most interested in. And then after you finish the quizzes, and if you do the lab practicals, so if you need more points to earn an A plus, or if you're the sort of person that likes to write essays as opposed to objectively graded questions, there are culminating assignments intended to be done at the end of class, but you can really do them anytime. But they're best done at the end of class. Trust me, you can add up to 20 more points. There are two culminating experiences: developing a concept model of how physical geography of a region works, where you decide to learn more about the deserts or the rainforests or the cold polar regions, the tundra, or you lead friends and family on a physical geography tour of the Big Island using a geovisualization. You can do both if you need to. There's no restrictions in developing a model or a culminating understanding of the class. So there's lots and lots of points available, over 150 points in the quizzes and the lab practicals, and then another 40 points available for these culminating assignments. You'll be able to reach the grade you want. What will you be learning in the class? What are the different units in the class? Well, Unit 1 is an overview of what science is, what physical geography is, and Earth is an entirely combined system because physical geography is how the planet as a whole works. And I want to explain this to you at the start before Unit 2 breaks it apart. Unit 2 is building the topography of Earth's surface. It rests in common with physical geology. After I build the topography of Earth's surface, I will then rip it apart. By rip it apart, I mean decay it and erode it to create Earth's beautiful landforms, its landscapes. Unit 3 then goes into climate basics. I'm sorry, Unit 4 goes into climate basics. Unit 5 then covers global weather and climate. And then Unit 6, which is the optional culminating assignments, weaves in the biogeography. I want to dig into the lab practicals right now because students have a lot of questions about them. So you may want to pause the presentation, note where it is time-wise, and then when you start in the lab practicals, you can come back to this and get a reminder of what they're about. It's one piece of knowledge that you need to apply. It's accessed via Canvas. There's nothing you can do to prepare for it before you click on the lab practical. The explanation for the lab practical and any additional readings and materials are up front. And because you can pause and resume, you can access those materials, read them, look at the questions, and then get back to me with questions you might have. There's no PDF files to read. There's no audiovisual presentations. So the idea is that you've learned the basic concepts and lectures and the readings, and then you go do the lab practical. I don't know why it says Blackboard here. We're using Canvas. There's lab practicals that correspond with different units. And I'll give you an example. Some of them are pretty strange. This is the lab practical that deals with the topic of moisture, Hollywood style. Moisture is a topic that tends to confuse a lot of students about relative humidity, absolute humidity, specific humidity. How is the dew point reached? And so I like to use Hollywood movies for the fun of it. And so this is a video clip of Olaf, from the movie Frozen, in which he sings a song in which he fantasizes about what life would be like for him during summer. So the question is, what type of phase change is the snowman Olaf undergoing? And the correct answer is that Olaf is sublimating. The word condensing means making of clouds or condensing water on a glass. It's turning vapor into liquid form. Releasing latent heat occurs when you condense water. When you condense water, you release heat, and you learn more about that in lecture. Olaf is melting. I, I don't think he's melting. He's letting off what looks to be kind of like steam. And so one of the ways that you can change this phase of water from solid, which Olaf would be, a snowman, into the vapor phase is called sublimating. There are some other words, but I use the term sublimating. So Olaf is sublimating. There's no timer to the lab practicals. So when you get a question like this, in which you use Google Earth, you can stop and ask me. And what I want you to do is to take your time, read the instructions, read anything extra that you might need, and prepare before you start the lab practical. Some of the lab practicals use Google Earth. I like for you to download Google Earth Pro to your laptop computer or desktop. I think it works best. Plus, if you look in the lower right-hand corner, you can see the eye altitude, which some questions refer to. So for example, this is South America, and at this eye altitude, you can see the big giant Andes mountain chain and the ocean, and then particular aspects like the big Amazon basin. So at this high altitude, you can get an idea of what's called the second order of relief, the giant mountain chains and the big valleys like the trench off the coast of South America. So you can use you can use Google Earth on your browser. That's fine too. I just prefer Google Earth Pro, and I think it's a good thing for you to try and explore, but you don't have to. You can use Google Earth in the browser. Um, I recommend that you open links in a new window, even though sometimes people don't like to do that. I prefer if you do a new window, it won't mess you up that much. All right, enough with the order of assignments and what you'll be learning in class. How do you get help? And how do you appeal a question that's marked wrong? So the best way to ask questions is on the discussion boards in class. That way, other students can read my answer. Um, if there are personal items or anything relating to your grade, I prefer for you emailing it. Another question that students often have is, I think I did that right. I think I put down the correct answer. And my response is wonderful. In the syllabus, I have a section on how do you appeal questions where you think you had the right answer. So I have a procedure that you have to follow. Send a screenshot of the question. Don't take a picture with your cell phone because I can't see it. Learn how to use your operating system. Take a screenshot with your operating system. And then send a screenshot of supporting evidence, such as this slide from lecture. And then write a paragraph why you think your selection was the best answer. And that also should include and must include why you think the other answers were not the best answer. I love students to argue, but I want to have evidence and reasoning for you to support your argument. And then you email me with the subject line, appeal the assignment, and remind me of the class you're in because I teach multiple classes and I tend to have the same policy of appealing if you think you have the right answer. So that's what the class covers. I want to emphasize before I close that figuring your grade is super easy. Compare your point total to the points in class. Only pay attention to the points in the grade book, nothing else, no percentages, no out of. And I don't want you to have a fear of failure. The grade should be under your control. And even if you were to finish all the quizzes and all of the lab practicals and you still didn't have enough points to earn an A plus, you can work on culminating assessments and earn more points this way. In summary, I appreciate you taking physical geography and this class. I hope you have a wonderful time and don't hesitate to contact me if you need help.